Good morning, my friend.
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. So this is my friend Logan Todd. He's here today to help us with a rock song. We've got a kit set up to achieve a little bit of a tighter, drier sound. So I'll just sort of talk about the microphone setup, and then I'll let Logan tell us a little bit about the drum kit and the way he's got it set up. So I'm using on the overheads a Glyn style again. I say again because it's what I do quite often. So just to explain really quickly what the Glyn technique is. Glyn was a very significant recording engineer and producer of the 60s. The Beatles, The Who, Led Zeppelin, very long list. Glyn came up with a very simple and super effective drum miking technique with 3 microphones. You use a pair of overheads and a kick drum mic. And he positioned the right-hand side for the drummer overhead picture near the floor tom, and then the left side overhead is directly over the drums. And you pan them out. You can pan them fully hard, left and right. I kind of cheat them in a little bit just because I don't want the sound to become too wide and lose the center. It's a very effective, simple drum kit miking technique. And if you want to get a little bit more of an explanation on it, I have a video on the UA website, their YouTube, with Robot Monster, and we talk about that drum miking technique a little bit more extensively. The modification here is while I'm maintaining an equal distance from the center of the snare, I've moved the mic down in this sort of more face-on position, which will help me achieve the same thing, but the reason I'm doing it is I want to get away from some of the cymbal wash so that I have a drier sound. I'm also closer to the kick drum this way and the floor tom. And then I'm also getting away from floor to ceiling reflections. So I'm trying to mitigate as much of the room sound as I can in the overheads. Some of the other things going on, SP1 that's on the hi-hat, it's closer, it's pointing sort of straight down, actually slightly away from the center of the drum kit, just to try to get a little bit more isolation on it. SD3 on the snare is pointing down into the snare drum a little bit more than I might normally position it. We have an SD5 behind the drum kit, so we've got 2 SD5s going on this drum kit. Obviously going to use this one as a traditional kick drum choice, and then in back I'm going to use the sub emulation that I know is available in this SD5. We're going to treat that as kind of like a lo-fi kind of trash mic, so I can, with maybe a pedal kind of emulation or something in Luna, I'm going to kind of rough it up, and that'll be kind of a nice thing to blend in. And then even though we're doing a tighter sound, that's also why these baffles are here, to kind of get some of the room reflection out of the close mics. We have a stereo room mic that we can use for drum fills or bigger sections, or we could add reverb to it. We can achieve a bigger rock drum sound, even though what we're doing with the close mics and core is tighter and drier. And maybe you just kind of tell us a little bit about this drum kit you got set up.
Yeah, so kind of to achieve the dry tight thing, I prefer smaller shells for like this focus sound. So we have a 20-inch kick here. It's a CNC drum kit. Love this kick drum. 12-inch rack tom, 14-inch floor, which is, most of them are 16, so it's a little smaller. And the dampening, I wanted a little heavier dampening on the rack tom just to kind of give it, that totally flat sort of thing. So I got a tea towel on here. But then on the floor tom, I chose a bandana because when you put too much weight on a floor tom, it can get a little basketball-y. And then the snare drum, we completely covered because we wanted to remove all overtone from that and just kind of get that fundamental. And then you can kind of get more response out of it by adjusting the snare wires.
Tuning the reaction time and voice of the snares to the tune. To the tune and the way you've got it set up.
So, you can, the more you crank it, the tighter the sound gets, and then I kind of like it right about there, where it's a little tight, but not too tight. You're still getting
because it also starts to choke out some of the low frequency tones. Yeah.
Exactly.
Totally.
Bigger hi-hat here, just because I feel like with the rock tune, and especially with this miking, I wanted something that was going to be a little darker, not so bright. So this is just a broken crash cymbal that I drilled holes in.
I love it. All right. Yeah. Well, let's get into it.
Sweet.
First, we need to set some levels, so I'm going to have Logan play a little bit and get my gains set up, and then we can kind of go through and look at what emulations I want to use. Logan, if you would just play a little bit for me, I need to set some gains. All right, great. Hang on for me for 1 second. So I've already pre-selected all my sources on the hemispheres. So I already know that I'm going to use the sub on the SD5 that's behind the drum kit, so we can start with that. Logan?
Yes.
Would you play just the kick drum for me?
Yep.
Cool, man. Hang on 1 second. In isolation, I'm going to use the DN52 because it resembles the rock kick drum sound that I want most specifically. So we'll start there. Maybe we'll adjust it. Logan, would you just hit the snare drum for me, please? Let's skip to the hi-hat. I'm good with the 451 because it feels like I'll have to EQ it less. All right, buddy. Let me hear just kick, snare, hi-hat. I'm gonna see what I can do with these overheads. Logan, can I hear the bell on the ride a little bit? Because that's what we're going to have that in the CD. I just want to see how that comes across on these overheads. Very nice. Hey, do me a favor and do that drum fill again. Okay, hang on. I want to come out and move one of the mics real quick. I just wanted to move it over because it wasn't picking the tom up as much as I wanted. Because this will pick up a lot of snare drum. So yeah, that's the reason to move it.
Sweet.
One more time for me on the fill. Yeah, brother, that's better. Yeah, if you just play that groove, I need to figure out something for the sphere. I'm trying to do a stereo thing here. A lot of times I'd use a 67 for this type of thing, or a 49, so we'll just start with a 67 and revisit this. You know, I pre-selected the sub for the trash mic, but I haven't really listened to it, so if you'd play one more time for me. But let's make it kick, snare, hi-hat. So I'm using a sub mic sort of a different way than a sort of traditional, I guess, you know, because most of the time it's used in front of a kick drum just for the super subby element that it can bring about, but it captures more high frequencies than, you know, that particular usage. I mean, it's not going to get all the way up in extended high frequencies. It probably starts to roll off around 5K. But it is kind of a nice, fuller, lo-fi sound. But as you can see, I'm using it as something that doesn't have a lot of high frequencies. I'm not getting in trouble and having to do a lot of EQ to then send it to a distortion. It's already kind of very filtered. This is headed in the direction at least I want for it. I've got a bit more work to do, but let's get you started playing to the song. Here we go, brother. great, man. Thank you. I got the close mics all fairly dialed. I need to work on the room tone and the sort of the trash mic behind the kit. I mean, you can certainly dig into that bell on the ride, but we might be getting a little bit aggressive on like the hi-hat.
Heard.
Let's go again, and I'll be, you know, I'm kind of paying attention to a few things. So yeah, just back off a little bit. Let me see how that goes.
Okay.
I had some of my polarities pre-selected, but I think I've made an error on one of them. Anyways, will you just give me just a kick drum, sir?
Yup.
Perfect. Hang on for me. For the trash mic, I had it wrong, so yeah, I think I've got it sorted out. Would you play for me? So this might look like a little bit of an odd choice for a room tone, but I'm using this gobo to my advantage. It's not getting any direct sound from the drums, obviously, because it's in between. It also has this really absorptive side here. It's not reflecting back into the mic. Because the baffle is here, though, it does still get a lot of room tone. But I've moved in really close to where I'm mostly getting the tone of the shells, the wooden sort of punchy depth of that stuff, and getting away from, when we were over here, I was just hearing a lot of the ceiling and walls and just a lot of the reverberant space. I'm closer, but because this is here, it's like, it feels separate because I'm not getting direct sound. There isn't high frequency splash off this, and the low frequencies and mid-range that are building up in this area are captured here. So it's not a far room sound, but it is a room sound, and we'll just see how it pans out when I go in the other room. I think that moving that room mic is going to work, but I had to completely change my mic choice and setup. So
cool.
But that's what's so beautiful about this, is that you can kind of rifle through a bunch of different sounds without having to go change a microphone on a stand, and I get a result that feels great to me. Logan, let's record something from the top.
Okay.
Because I'm curious about how playback through a tape formula might also sort of help round the sound out. I love the rock enthusiasm. Yeah, great. I think I need to move the snare drum mic just a little bit.
So what's the goal with this change?
Well, I mean, I still want it to be more isolated, but I feel like I need to get it away from the drum a little bit and just point down more into the drum,
to get
as opposed to across it, because there's no resonance going on with the
so you need like
skin.
the
I can get a
source.
little bit, try to get a little bit more of that tone. Yeah, great. Thank you, man. Yeah, that's helping me. Fantastic, man. You could come in here if you'd like, because I'm going to spend a few minutes listening.
Sure.
And if you wouldn't mind, on the way in, maybe grab the guys. Thanks for joining me, fellas. So Logan and I have recorded a pass we like. We can kind of review the choices, but the main thing is I want your impression of tones, the way it's coming together. I think I made some interesting choices. Got into using a little bit more of the proximity effect in the hemisphere, which is good. I mean, I started out on the sub speaker that's behind the kit. It's pretty close to the wall already, but it felt like moving it away, probably further than I could actually physically move it in the space, was kind of a cool move. So that's sort of a unique aspect of what that'll allow you to do. Yeah, so let's just check it out and sort of talk about what we have.
Sweet.
That was sick.
Thank you. Hats off to Logan. I want confirmation from the group that we like the choice that we have on the snare before I say what I think the fix might be.
Sure. Is it the 409? The Glyn?
Yeah.
I like the weight of that one because I feel like it matches a lot of the low end energy that's coming from the other drums, and it kind of pushes it out front a little bit. Because what I was thinking when I heard it before we started shooting out mics was, okay, maybe I'll tune the drum a little higher or something like that. But hearing it through the 409 kind of gave it kind of reestablished some of that presence that I feel like I was missing from it.
The 604, I thought that was also a really cool option. It felt like it even kind of made the kick a little bit like more thumpy and attacky.
Yeah.
And that's something I really noticed off of changing the microphones, is like we're changing a snare microphone, but this is making the kick like really pop out.
Yes.
So it's kind of a tiebreaker for me for the 604 and the 409 right now.
Okay.
I'm leaning towards the 604. I think they all sound cool and they each have their own personality, but the 604 just sounds kind of more.
Like the song.
Sounds worse, but in a good way. it makes it mean.
And your thoughts?
Staying out because mine was the 545, so I'm just gonna let you guys decide because they all sounded great to me.
Well, you know, that's interesting. Can you pull up the Trident EQ? I like it best on the 604.
Agree.
Yeah. The two things that I want to try on my end is I want to try maybe taking the bandana slightly off, like leaving it mostly covered, and then I want to try tuning it up a corner turn.
Okay, well, go for it, and then we'll see what happens. How you doing out there, man?
Good. I made my adjustment. I'm about to.
Oh, go ahead and just play for me.
Sure.
I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
You guys
I'm
good?
liking how it sounded.
Cool. So now we can make some takes. that was nailed. So now we're going to move on to a guitar overdub on the rock song we've been working on. And Sam is our guitar player today. This amp that we're going to use is kind of a special deal. It's a Projector, a 16mm Projector. I would assume that it's probably from the 50s because it has a tube amp in it. So I went looking on eBay and I found this beauty, and it already had a speaker output, and so I knew that all I needed to do was add an input and change the impedance to be instrument level, and it's really been a tremendous piece of gear. It can be very clean if you play lightly. It's very reactive to the way someone plays. So the harder you run it, harder you play into it, or if you put gain into it with a pedal, it will really saturate and get very distorted sound. Think we can get on to micing up the cabinet and finding our sound?
Sounds good.
Awesome. And it has two different speakers in it. They're slightly different, and I forget which is which, but have a bit of tonal difference, yeah. Would you go ahead and play a little bit? So now we've got Sam all set up in the cabinet mic. I'm going to go each microphone in isolation and see what I choose as an emulation for the modeling mics, and then see if they're a good combination. Would you just go ahead and play on your own for me? I need to file through these different microphone selections and figure out what I'm doing here.
Sure.
Thanks, Sam. On the SC1, I feel pretty solid about the 67 new old stock. On the SD7, I'm kind of going back and forth between 160 ribbon and the 409. Let's make a pass, and then you can come check it out. Here we go from the top. Killer, man. Fantastic, sir. You want to come in here and check it out with us?
Yeah.
So it ended up being 67 new old stock
On the SC1.
on the SC1, and then a black 421 on the SD7.
I saw you open up before. It's an 87 vintage.
Oh, let's figure it out and decide for sure.
Yeah.
Change it. Okay. Once we started recording and I sort of had missed that oversight, I was EQing and balancing with that, so, and I like it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy accident.
Yeah.
What's it feel?
Feels good.
Awesome.
Feels better than the old one for sure.
Yeah. Killer.